most famous physical therapist on the internet.
Well, hi there, folks. I'm Bob Schrupp, physical therapist.
Brad Heineck, physical therapist.
And together we are the most famous physical therapists in our humble opinion.
In our opinion, of course, Bob.
So today, Brad, who do we have here?
Well, today
this
we
guy?
are absolutely honored to have Jeff Komay, who is a physical therapist assistant, as well as an instructor in a physical therapy assistant program. And you've been doing that for how many years?
24 years.
24 years.
Yeah.
So he's been around the block.
Yeah.
Quite a bit, quite a few times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't use the line. He's the famous physical therapist assistant.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
In his opinion.
In my opinion, of course. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So we got some questions here. The title today is I Want That Job, Physical Therapist Assistant and Transition to Physical Therapist DPT. So we're going to talk about becoming a physical therapist assistant and
Right.
transitioning from
Right, because some people, there's some people that if they become a physical therapist assistant, is there the option to roll that education over into a DPT,
which a
a
doctorate
doctorate of physical therapy? But first, we were going to get into the just what is physical therapist assistant? What are their duties? Is it something they want to do? And then what does it take to get into a program, and how long does it cost? Job opportunities.
You want to ask all the questions at once?
Well, yeah.
Oh, boy.
I'm not going to
Give
say
one.
I'm
Just
just
give one question.
That was the overview. Now we'll get into the details. So,
Well, how about we let Jeff talk?
Well,
Go ahead.
sure, I'll jump in.
jump in.
Well, I have been an instructor for 24 years, and I have seen a lot of PT assistants come through the door. And really, I work at a local technical college, at Western Technical College in La Crosse, Wisconsin. And as you become a physical therapist assistant, I like to say PTA from this point.
PTA, sure.
And physical therapists
yeah.
are PTs. That's just kind of the language we use.
Sure.
It's a lot
Yeah.
easier to say, otherwise a tongue twister.
Right.
But the PTAs get an associate degree of applied science, and it's a 5-semester program typically, and that's nationwide. They're an accredited program as well. So if you're looking for a program out there, be sure that you can find on their website that is indeed accredited.
Absolutely.
That's important because there
Very
have
good,
been
important.
there have been folks that have gone off to school, got their degree, and the program wasn't accredited. So that's a little
They couldn't even get a
step
job.
one. Couldn't
Probably.
even get a job. So step one is to make sure the program is accredited. What is a physical therapist assistant? I think that's a really good question to
Right.
start with here versus a physical therapist. I like to say it this way. The physical therapist, let's say you roll your ankle. A physical therapist, let's say you go to the doctor and they give you a note to go see physical therapy. Physical therapist, you'll come in, you'll get an evaluation from the physical therapist. And then at that point, they'll set up what we call a plan of care. How do we get this person's swelling down, pain down, get them back to running in a state track meet, something
Sure.
like that. At that point, the physical therapist assistant often will jump in.
Sure.
And they will do part of that treatment along the way. Then we have stop points where the physical therapist jumps in again and reevaluates things.
Sure.
Is the swelling down? Is the pain better? Can we go from a walk to a jog now? And then the physical therapist assistant will jump in again and work with that patient until it gets closer to discharge time. And the physical therapist may do the treatment in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards the discharge time, we get together with the physical therapist, and then the physical therapist makes the ultimate decision, the time to kind of sign off, and is the patient free to run on their own. So the PTA has a lot of decision making that goes into that. The physical therapist kind of oversees the whole thing and makes the big decisions and kind of directs, where the patient should go.
Right.
And then the assistant kind of helps along the roadmap along the way and decides, hey, maybe we should talk with the therapist again and maybe do a little bit of a change.
Sure.
So
And Brad and I have vast experience with actually Western Technical College graduates. I mean, that's where the vast majority of the ones that we hired worked for us. And I would say we've had 20 some, at least 20 some, if not
Right.
more over the years.
a lot.
So, and very, very competent graduates. I don't know if that's due
good.
to you.
That's good. I work with good people.
Yeah. No, we have some really good ones. And for me, it would always vary depending on how their skill level and skill set. Some of them, you really let them take the reins and they really go quite far. And others, you have to kind of hover, especially if they're new,
Right.
inexperienced.
Exactly, the experience part of it. And what what kind of folks typically are PT assistants? If you're thinking, is this a good career for me? Right.
Personality type.
Sure.
Personality type.
Sure.
So you got to be a really good communicator. You've got to like science. And
Yep.
you better like people, because
Yeah.
you're with people in physical therapy when sometimes they're at their worst. They're down. They maybe just had
Yeah.
a stroke, and you're standing them up for the first time, or you're helping them walk for the first time. And
Right.
so sometimes you're working with them at their worst, or maybe they had a severe injury of their knee, and they're a high quality volleyball player. Now
Right.
they can't play in the regionals or something like that. So other things, you want to make sure that you're very flexible. You got to be a fit person as well, because you be on your feet all day.
It's somewhat of an athletic job. I mean, you have to help people stand up, and
Yep.
you're walking along with them, and you might have to show them exercises. And
Sure.
Well, it's obvious you got to be in shape.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Of course. So yeah, you're on your feet a lot. Sometimes you are the legs for people.
Sure.
So you're actually moving them.
Right.
So you're
Right.
hanging on and moving them around. And I think one of the biggest things is to be humble too. You got to be a person that you got to be knowledgeable, but then be humble enough to take advice from other folks and really
Yes.
listen. Be a really good listener for
Sure.
your patients.
Right.
If you're the person that needs to be in charge of everything, PTA is probably not your direction, because you are
point.
the assistant part of that.
Yeah.
Really is, that catcher. You're reporting to someone.
Yes.
But a good PTA team
Mhm.
often is,
Yeah.
just really a great relationship. And but you're not calling all the shots as an assistant, but
Right.
which is important to keep.
yeah,
in
it's
mind.
funny when they just really, I started using PTAs, probably 30 years ago, but I at first, I wasn't used to having a PTA, so they always called me a ball hog. Like like I had trouble giving up any
Right.
control, but eventually I got very good at it because we got some really good PTAs, and some provide perspective that you don't think about, and some of them
Right.
has
Right.
strengths and courses that you've never taken. So
And I'll tell you that the technical colleges and the junior colleges where the PTAs are educated the most, and the folks that come in my door it's a diverse group as far as age. I mean, the average age at the tech school is around 26, but I've had students that are 19, and I've had students that have been in their 50s.
oh wow,
So you do get that different perspective
sure.
of folks coming in.
Do you have the average age across the United States?
Yeah,
Is that-
nationwide is very similar. For the PT assistants, as far as in schooling, it's a little bit older than folks that are in the university system for the
Sure.
DPTs.
Sure. Mhm.
26, 27 years old.
Okay.
And as far as the workforce goes, the average age, really, the median age is about 40, 41 for both.
Oh, really?
For both. Yeah.
Okay.
And oftentimes PTAs are working part-time.
yeah,
Oftentimes a second career.
yeah,
It's about 65-70% female versus male,
sure.
which is fairly reflective of the PT job as well.
Sure.
Sure. Yep.
It's a little more female directed.
Yep. That's how my
degree.
class was too when I graduated 100
Right.
years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is it difficult to get into a PTA school? Is it something you have to wait in line for, or do you have to have a certain GPA?
Well, the PTA schools are run different than PT schools. Maybe I could share a little bit about both. Okay. So the PTA school, typically, it's somewhat of a first come, first serve.
Sure.
You sign up and you wait to get in.
As
the
long
t-
as you've met the requirements.
And the requirements are usually fairly small. They are
Okay.
get immunizations in, get some basic application paperwork in.
Mhm.
Some programs will have a job shadow requirement. Some programs, our program, for instance, doesn't, because our local clinics are pressured enough to have
Yeah.
a lot of people coming in their doors. So we've
Sure.
chosen not to. Fairly typical for tech schools and junior colleges, though, that it's not, you sign up and you wait to get in, versus like a PT program is different.
Mhm.
You've got your undergrad degree, you get your 4-year degree first, and then you're going for your doctorate of physical therapy. Now, once you get your undergrad degree, which is usually in a health or a science related
Right.
field,
Yeah.
typically, then some numbers here. The pool is like this, looking to funnel into
Yeah.
that. I actually have some stats on that.
Yeah.
You're looking at
You're
for one of our local colleges here, that 391 students applied. That they say they're pre-PT,
Sure.
Sure.
and 45 are admitted a year.
Okay.
So that funnels down.
Yeah.
And really what we're looking at there is what's your GPA? You got to have a 3.0 or better. So that's a big difference from the tech school
Yeah.
Yeah.
setup. You got to have some prerequisites, your typical anatomy and physiology, physics, chemistry,
Those core
sociology, core classes, which really would transfer into a lot of different programs and degrees too.
Sure.
If
Sure.
if you didn't make it in that PT funnel, you got to have some observation hours, letters of reference, and then nowadays they're doing asynchronous. So you log in and you do an interview with the computer, and they're looking at that versus like sitting down talking.
Sure.
So and then from there they choose their pool. And I don't know all the criteria.
Are they often having you? Don't you have them often write a paper or something like that?
I think
some
different
do.
schools do
Yeah,
different
some,
things.
Right.
This is just one example of
Sure.
just the differences in applying, and really, there is competition for the PTA schools as well. And I will tell you that, for instance, the schools in our state in Wisconsin here, that it's a 2 to 3 year wait.
Sure.
So, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Isn't there some prerequisite classes before PTA school?
No,
there isn't.
no, there isn't.
But you can take some classes.
But you can take
before
while
you
you're.
get.
Yes, I'm sorry I interrupted, but while you're waiting to get in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
gotcha.
can
Take
take some
them.
of those classes so that once you're in, you don't have as heavy of a load.
I see.
Right,
Sure.
right. And maybe we can talk a little about what's the load like when you're in the
Yeah,
program.
yeah.
And I mentioned the differences of getting into the programs, but I'll tell you there is some similarities in what is covered in the curriculums. A lot of exercise instruction, use of modalities, ultrasounds, and all of those things.
Sure.
The hands-on skills are fairly similar. Oftentimes I'll be doing a lab and I'll see our counterpart in the PT program doing almost the same thing in the lab down the hall from us.
Sure.
So, I'll rewind. Okay.
Yeah.
So that really the PTAs are technically trained. So they're really hands-on focused. A lot of your courses are lecture lab and a lot of time spent in the laboratory during your education.
Which is good.
Sure.
A ton of hands-on. And then towards the end or mixed throughout is an internship working with patients as well.
Sure.
Similar to the DPT, their doctorate of physical therapy, in that a lot of classroom and lab, and then big internship at the end as well. So if you get into any healthcare field, there's always an internship component. That's really when I see students really pull it all together, and the light bulb goes on at that point.
Is there much of a dropout rate as far as once people get in? Do they get to, or they get to the point where they're out in the clinic and they decide, or whatever?
Well, I'll say the attrition rate, as you're looking at even nationwide, you're looking at about 80% make it.
Sure. Okay.
And I'll tell you,
That's the PTAs.
for PTAs. For
Okay.
PTs, it's probably high. I'm sure it's higher
Right.
because of the amount of work beforehand and to
Right.
get in.
Yep.
If you're in
Yep.
this pool down to this pool,
Yeah.
very few.
Been weeded out.
Or very few once they're in have really committed.
Sure.
And that's where I'll see if you're looking at, is this the time for me to go to school? And no matter what your profession is, I always say there's a season for everything. And that's where we'll see people get lost is they come in and you don't realize how much effort there is
Yeah.
to go into school. So for every lab hour you have, there should be a lab hour of study. You think lab is lab, but there's homework for that. If you've got to work 35, 40 hours to make it work, you're probably not going to make it to the finish line.
So
Tough.
you're working a job
Working
outside of school. Right.
working a job outside of school.
Sure. Mhm.
So the season for it is have some money banked up, some time, great support system,
Right.
and really be 100% committed. And that's where we do lose some people academically because it's first come first serve. So you
Sure.
don't have kind of the weed out GPA
Sure.
process or
Sure.
anything.
Mhm.
But I'll say it's probably a 50-50 in that we get folks of different ages coming into a little
Sure.
different clientele. So life gets in the way.
Right.
Believe it or not, babies come along,
Yeah.
those kinds of things,
Right.
or wife or husband's laid off and they've got to go work. And so make sure that if you think about schooling, that it's real important. Is it the right season for you to do it?
Sure.
And
Right.
I have that talk with many folks. Like, here's what's in front of you. It's a full-time job to really make it work because you owe it. You'll have future patients. And you owe all of your future patients your very best. That's what I always say.
And you said it was 2 years or 2 years in a summer?
It's a 2 years, 5 semesters.
I
So 2 academic years in a summer. Most programs are set up so the summer is general education courses. So if you're on a wait list somewhere and you take your psychology and sociology, oftentimes you'll have that summer with minimal credits to take
Yep.
or time to go work. So you
Sure.
can
Sure.
cash flow
Yeah.
your second semester. Now, if you're looking at, do I get your PTA degree and go to a PT degree? I'll tell you that the basic transition for that isn't real simple. There were just two colleges, that one in Findlay University in Ohio and one at University of Texas Medical School,
Mm-hmm.
where you could take your PTA degree and filter that in. A brand new one has opened up in our state of Wisconsin here at Concordia.
Oh,
And
really?
I think this fall they're going to be taking their first cohort.
Nice.
So if you look out on the websites for that, it won't say accredited yet. That's because they haven't had a group of students in.
Sure.
So there's a third one that's the transition. I will say, like at Findlay University, what does that look like? It's a weekend course, Fridays and Saturdays, every
Wow.
other week in Ohio. And they want you to working during the week as a PTA, 20 hours. And then you're going to Findlay University Friday and Saturday to do your coursework
I hope
for,
they
for a
expand
couple
those.
years.
I hope
for
there
3
are more
years.
people that jump in.
So
more
do they
schools.
require you get your PTA degree? Do you have to have like a year or 2 years of full-time work before you can go to that PT?
I'm not familiar with what that is for each
Okay.
of those schools
Okay.
as far as the amount of time. I will say that nationwide, how many people do the transition
Yep.
or go back to PT school altogether?
Right.
In that case, then you're starting from scratch. They'll
Right.
take a few credits
Yeah.
towards your undergrad,
Sure.
and then you're in
Right.
that funnel of folks
Yeah.
coming in. Nationwide, the American Physical Therapy Association says that 10% of PTAs do that.
Go
and
on.
do that. I find that stat, from my experience, being a little high. It's more about 5 to 6%.
Sure.
And
That will do
us
that.
personally, we've had a couple PTAs that, well,
Right.
one for
One,
sure.
yeah.
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 Aaron.
He was out and boy, he had to go back to college to get his
Yeah.
DS. And I don't know how many
Right.
yees it took him. It seemed to go fast, but when
But,
you're older, it
yeah,
goes
when you're
fast.
older.
It took them every year does fly by. Yeah.
We had a CODA, a certified occupational therapist assistant, who became an OT, and it was a program that kind of allowed her to do it on weekends. And it
Oh,
was up
that's
in
right.
Minnesota. So
Sure.
Right. So I think it's exciting that there's another transition program right,
Yeah.
right at Concordia.
Yep.
Again, statistically, and why would someone choose to make that change?
Right.
And I really think it's they've got the ability, number
Right.
one, and I'll tell you, the folks that we've had do that, I saw that early on.
Yeah.
And really, it was just the timing
Yeah.
of they didn't want to go to PT school at
Right.
the time, so they came to PTA school. And some get out in the profession and decide, I'd really like that next step
yeah,
of maybe making the plan of care and
you,
things
you
like
really
that.
got to be pretty super ambitious. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like you said, you're really not. It's not a short step. It's not,
No.
not a shortcut.
Right.
And so you're almost going back from the start unless you get into one of those transition programs.
Right.
So
It's a big commitment. But I got to tell you, as a profession, and you guys know this, we have a fantastic profession in physical therapy. You make a difference in people's lives. And I gave two examples before of the volleyball player, or maybe that person, you help that person who just had a stroke get back on their feet.
yeah,
Yeah.
And wow, reward. And I knew this was a career for me when I was at one of my internships way back when I had hair and everything. And I got done, and the lady called me over, and she was being discharged from therapy to go home. And she waved me down, and I went to listen to her. She gave me a kiss on the cheek.
Ah,
And I knew right then
That
that it
sealed
meant
the
a lot.
deal.
It sealed the deal for me. So
Sure.
here I am. I graduated in '93, and that was a few years ago, and I'm still plugging away.
let me say
So-
this about the PT program, and I'll see if you agree. But I mean, there are qualified people, very smart people that won't get in. I mean,
exactly.
it's that
Right.
competitive. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I've seen it throughout my life. I've helped a lot get in,
Mhm.
but there was some that were very good. The grades were maybe a little bit low, but they couldn't get in. And what do you have then?
Right. Well,
I-
I'll tell you the answer to that. What we've been seeing, the real trend. It's been very interesting as I've done education for a long time. It used to be the two and then maybe go back
Right.
to school. We've seen a fairly heavy influx of folks with 4-year degrees, pre-PT or pre-something,
Sure.
and knocking on our door and becoming PT assistants.
Oh, interesting.
What a great bridge that is. too.
Sure.
And a lot of them and this is the truth. They said my undergrad degree was nothing in difficulty compared to what I'm doing for the PTA degree. I said, well, we're job training every day. It's a
Yeah.
different mindset. You're in the classroom sometimes, but you're on your feet and you're learning that way a lot. So we've had a lot of 4 plus 2 to equal
Sure.
a degree too.
Sure.
So there is, it's not, if you don't get into PT school, it's not the end of the world. You
Right.
can apply other schools and things,
Yep.
but consider
that's a good
PTA.
alternative.
PTA is a
Yes.
great alternative. You're really right here. You got to have it here, but you got to have it here too.
Right.
If right here, if you want to help people and be in rehab, in therapy, that PTA route isn't anything to hang your head about.
Sure.
It's another really great option for you if you don't get into PT.
I do want to
school.
give the example too of where in my physical therapy class, there was a girl, she was top of the class academically by far, just all the way through. So shy, could not work with people. I mean, they always coupled her with me because I talk a lot and make her feel calm.
I picked up on that.
Yeah, she quit the program in the
Wow.
second year because she didn't want to work with people.
Yeah.
She wanted to be in a
Mhm.
lab or something like that. And so you need to understand that. You need to know thyself, basically.
Right.
Yeah. That's great advice. Really
Yeah.
great advice.
What else did you want to ask, Brad?
I don't know. I think we're covered. I was looking
Yeah.
through some of my questions. It's like I don't know. Do we want to cover pay scale at all, or what people sometimes
Yeah.
like to know what they're going to
Sure,
get paid?
Sure.
Sure.
It
You
might
know,
be good.
From a PTA to a PT percent, is it double
Yeah.
or is it half the amount? or-
Well, I have nationwide stats
Okay.
here
Sure.
too, but
It
I've got to
varies a
find in
lot
my
from
notes here.
area to
But
area.
it depends on where you live and all
Yeah.
of that. But
Mhm.
nationwide average PT is around $85,000.
Sure.
But the heaviest pay or the best pay, so to speak, is like your coast, New York,
Right,
California.
right.
But cost of living's higher there.
Right.
Yeah.
PTAs, you're looking at around 45 to 50,
Mhm.
somewhere in there
Yeah.
with some experience. 52, and
Mhm.
you could get higher than that if depending. A real interesting thing I found
Yeah.
was that the VA system has decided to pay different than we've ever heard about, and this may be transitional for healthcare, and with experience. And a lot of times you get hired, you kind of move up the scale every
Yeah.
6
Right.
months.
Yeah.
But they're looking at the extra training you got, the experience you have, and things for PT assistants specifically, and they're paying a little different that way. And it's an initiative that they've started.
You're saying better pay?
Better pay,
Ah,
Okay.
a little bit different. They're looking at what your experience is and what you've been doing.
Sure.
I just saw that yesterday. I read an article on it. I found it
Okay.
fascinating. Now, will that continue? I don't know. We've seen kind of salaries in healthcare in general plateauing somewhat
Mhm.
as reimbursement, which is the money coming into the
Yeah.
clinics, as you guys know, has kind of flattened or even decreased.
yes, exactly.
So I think it's going to take some time before we see an increase again in that. As far as the need right now, with COVID and everything, it's been a little different.
yes.
Sure.
It's been a little difficult.
Yes.
I just saw that over half of PTAs had some form of cash flow decrease because of COVID, and
Sure.
like 45% of PTs.
Right.
But I think that's nationwide, pretty
Yeah.
much for most jobs, right?
And to be expected, I would think.
Yeah.
And to be expected. And I'm seeing that transition. It's starting to trend up again.
Yeah.
Get
Um,
back into a
and
groove.
and down the road, as our population ages, still,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to be looking at us, but
Yeah.
okay.
You can look at us.
But I always tell my students, I had a train. I went too long.
Sorry.
Talking about looking at job market down the
Right,
road, and we're looking
right.
at that. It should continue to increase. The data is showing that we're going to have more people trained for the amount of patients. So we're looking at different areas of practice with telemedicine.
Actually, we're going to have a video coming up. Oh, you didn't know we were doing a second one.
Yeah,
we're
that's
gonna, No, we're going to focus more on the future and the outlook of this as well. So I didn't want you to.
That's okay. You don't want to steal all the thunder
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
this.
that's right.
Okay.
Well, thanks again to our guest, Jeff Komay, for coming here
Thank
and
you.
an expert on this. And he can give us a lot of good information. And check it out. We'll be doing another video with him. And it'll be just as good, right, Brad?
Absolutely. Looking
Yeah.
at the future. And we're going to see what he has in
The
his
crystal ball.
crystal ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of pressure.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.